Corvette C8 prices are down by 12% compared to last year, and there are no signs that the trend will turn anytime soon. So this means that owners are looking at a loss of at least $12,000. I know, you probably don't buy this car for rational purposes, and these astronomical numbers might not scare you. But there's still a good reason to watch this video. I'll namely reveal one piece of crucial data that you can use to exploit these plummeting prices to the fullest and to save a ton of money on your purchase. But let's first zoom into the C8 market, the latest price developments, and compare them to the market trend. I have some fresh data for y'all. Over here we have the Stingray market split by the new cars, the certified used cars, and the used cars. And this plot already tells us something great. Prices are slowly moving towards MSRP. A 2024 Stingray Coupe starts at $69,000, and for a convertible this is $77,000. Adding a lot of options, you can easily spec one up to more than $100,000. And as you can see, this is approximately where the top of the market lays. But we've seen this before, right? Cars advertised for reasonable prices only to find out that you can't actually buy them for those prices. However, based on the comments from you and the messages on the various forums, I get the impression that you can now get one for MSRP if you're willing to wait a bit. Transitioning back to the graph, we can see that there are some excesses at the top end of the market, and they're a combination of a few C8Rs and some delusional sellers. Now looking at the used cars, we can see that the older ones are cheaper than the new ones, something that didn't used to be the case in the Corvette market. We can even see that some used cars are listed under MSRP, and I'm not surprised if we would see them dropping below MSRP. Moving on to the Z06, we can see that the market is still at a similar place as where the Stingray market was during its first year, but it's coming down slowly. Used cars, which represent the real prices, are listed for approximately $180,000. MSRP starts at $115,000, but you can spec one up to roughly $180,000. So as you can see, $20,000 to $30,000 premiums are still present. And this is a lot less than 3 months ago, when we saw premiums between $100,000 and $140,000. And that's a nice pivot into the next topic, the price development over time. Subscribers have been following all the highs and lows of the C8 prices on this channel, as I've been tracking them since the launch. Unsurprisingly, prices are at a new low today. Over here we have the prices for the coupes and the convertibles, and this reveals that coupes decreased by 11.4% or $10,500 during last year, and convertibles by 12.9% or $13,300. Numbers that are on the high side, but more about that later. What's namely more shocking is the price decrease from the market top in August 2021. Coupes are down by 23.5% or $25,000, and the convertibles by 25% or $30,000. So this means that they lost almost 1/4 of their value in 2 years. Of course, this isn't a surprise. During the summer of 2021, it was quite clear that the C8 market topped. Supply was catching up and we could see prices turn. So people who bought in the summer of 2021 and paid the price premiums most likely knew what they signed up for. A decline, that is. Prices only fell further after the top and fell at the quickest rate during the second half of 2022. The long-term trend is crystal clear, right? It's down. Now the beautiful thing about the Corvette C8 market is that there's more than enough supply to base these conclusions on. The confidence intervals that we saw before are already an important indicator of the reliability of the trend, but we can also see that the trends hold across the complete market. If we break the coupe market down by model year on the left and by mileage categories on the right, we can see that the depreciation patterns are similar across the model year and mileage dimensions. We can also see that there's no bottom in sight. High mileage cars and cars from 2020 are still depreciating at the same rate as low mileage cars and cars from 2023. The Z06 market seems to follow the steps of the Stingray market, so let's have a look. Over here we have the prices for the coupes and the convertibles, and this shows that coupes depreciated by 21.6% or $47,500 since May, and that this is 19.3% or $44,200 for the convertibles. In May, there were only 23 cars listed for sale, so the uncertainty in these data points is elevated, but supply quickly grew to 124 and 193 cars, and based on the decrease during the last 3 months, this 20% during the last 6 months seems reasonable. Also in this market the price trend is down, and this is further supported by inventory data, which shows that cars that aren't sold after 3 months are discounted by an average rate of 8%. Now, to understand the magnitude of these price decreases, we need to compare them to the rest of the market. 2022 was after all characterized by above normal depreciation rates, but more recently we've seen a return to relatively low rates in some markets. Let's see how the C8 performed. Over here we have the US year-over-year price changes for almost all cars that feature on my channel. On the horizontal axis we have the price change compared to last year in percentages, and on the vertical axis we have the number of cars to which this change applies. On average, prices are down by 8%, and this is a lot less than what we saw for the C8s. The Stingrays fall on the left hand side of the average, as coupes are down by 11.4% and convertibles by 12.9%. We saw that earlier. For the Z06s we don't have the 1-year price change yet, but using the 9-month price change, we can see that it also falls far to the left, as coupes are down by 21.6% and convertibles by 19.3%. So this graph confirms what we sort of already guessed, right? Stingrays lost more than the market average, but not excessively more, while Z06 lost more than twice as much as the average. Now, as an owner, you probably went into this with your eyes wide open. And there's not much more to do than to take your loss if you ever decide to sell the car. But if you're a buyer, these plummeting prices of course work in your advantage. It's always easier to negotiate when prices are falling, right? But when it comes to the Stingray market, there's one additional element that could work in your advantage and could save you a pretty penny. Perhaps you already spotted it. It's the seasonality. Corvette C8 prices are subject to one of the strongest seasonal effects that I've ever seen in the data. If we have another look at the price graph, we can see that prices are relatively stable between February and May, but decrease rapidly between August and January. Naturally, this makes the winter an attractive moment to buy a Stingray. But there's more. This namely has important implications for the inventory. If we look at the percentage of unsold cars compared to 3 months ago for the coupes and the convertibles, we can see that this number is low in the summer. Around 17% in 2022 and 19% in 2023. So this means that the cars sell relatively quickly, as only 19% of the cars are listed for sale for longer than 3 months. During winter, this used to be almost double in 2022. Now, on a standalone basis, you don't do so much with this information if you're a buyer, but you do with the following. Over here we can see the price changes of the inventory that didn't sell within 3 months, and the data basically speaks for itself. During summer, the discount rates are only small. This year it was -1% for both the coupes and the convertibles. However, they change significantly when we head into the winter. Last year unsold inventory got discounted by an average rate of 7%, and this year we're looking at 6%. And this you can of course use to your advantage. Prices are already falling, making it easier to negotiate. But cars that aren't selling also receive a hefty discount during the winter, and during the winter only. So this means that you could save an extra 6% on your purchase and offset approximately half of the yearly depreciation rate of 12%. But now you might be thinking, is this the big thing that I should do to save some money? Buy during the winter? Well, I didn't need to watch the video for that, right? And that's a fair point. But this common understanding that supercars are cheaper in the winter doesn't hold for all cars, at least not to the same extent. If I add for example the 911 991 and 992 Carrera and Carrera S's to the plot, we can see that the dip is significantly smaller this year than in the C8 market. 992 sit for example at -3% and 991s at -4%. And remember that this is 6% for the C8s. Looking at some other examples like the R8 V10 second generation, F8, 488 and 458, we can even see that it becomes much more difficult to identify any seasonal pattern at all. Supercars aren't always significantly cheaper during the winter, despite the common saying that they are. And with that it's time to wrap up and conclude. C8 Stingrays depreciated by 12% during last year, and for the Z06s this was 20%. So this means that both cars depreciated more than the market average of 8%. Moreover, there are no signs in the data that C8 price trends will flatten anytime soon, while there's a growing number of markets in which prices are falling less quickly. Owners probably knew what they were getting themselves into and need to take a considerable loss when they sell. Buyers, however, could benefit significantly from the situation. Not only because prices are falling, but also because cars that are listed for sale for longer than 3 months receive massive discounts. On average this is 6%, and this already offsets half of the yearly depreciation rate. And with that we arrived at the end of this video. And if you like this data-driven way of analyzing car markets but would like to see an analysis for a different car, head over to my channel. Over there you'll find detailed market analysis for a large variety of cars. Can't find the car you're looking for? Let me know the name of the car by commenting it down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I'll make a video about it. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week for a new video.